Doors has existed for 5 years. I just realized that 5 years is actually crazy, and that makes me feel old. So I was like, what is the best year for Doors? 2022, 2023, and so on. So why not rank all of them? So enjoy. Now this was the year that Doors came out, but it was towards the end of the year, which didn't really give him much time to grow sadly. This year was pretty much when the game exploded into popularity and everyone was playing the game. The game during this time averaged 30,000 players to 70,000 players, which I do extremely miss. Now in terms of game updates, this was definitely the worst period, as the game received like no major updates at all. However, the community was so much bigger that everyone was just waiting for the Hotel Plus update. Even people were making Floor 2 predictions. It took like 2,000 years for it to come out, but it still did in 2024. Just when is Floor 3. This was also the era where Creekcraft got trolled by the developers. God, I miss those days. Just seeing Creek get 2,000 screeches on him was hilarious. And there is even a full compilation of him getting trolled, which you should definitely watch if you have not, and see the old build of Doors. And at the time of writing the script, Creekcraft made a video playing Hotel Minus, which is pretty crazy, not gonna lie. The Discord server videos also at the time were just so funny. Seeing Screech get constantly bullied was fulfilling. This was also when Captain Jack Attack was at its peak, and his videos were always so good, like him talking about secrets and fun facts. And the amount of editing within his videos was just always entertaining to sit back and relax to. Another amazing channel was these fun facts videos. For me at the time, they were always so interesting, like with entities like Figure and Seek 1000%. But definitely the best era was the Creekcraft troll era. This was also the start of YouTubers clickbaiting the hell out of A60. But the devs at one point even spawned A60 in Creek's game, which made everyone shocked. This was when the era of insane mods came, as people had no clue what to do when there were no updates, especially with Cardinhan, who if you know, you know. And to top it all off, for these 5 months, the Hotel Plus teaser got over 8 million views, which really shows how big the game was at the time. God, I miss those days when good games were actually sort of popular, but now Roblox is just filled with corporate slop, I guess. Overall, the community made this era the best, and even without updates, this game was just so popular, easily a 10 out of 10. Now this was the first official year Doors has come out, and it was super good. This year added one update that was the most hyped update since the game had ever come out, Hotel Plus. This was when the game reached its peak player count, being 381k players. This was when the game also averaged 100k per day, becoming even more successful than it was at release. This also sparked the new rarest achievement that was ever added, A1000. I remember when YouTubers such as Creekcraft and Think Noodles would spend 2 hours trying to get this one single batch, whereas now Creekcraft doesn't even have a hard place. I know it's sad, but yeah. This was when 1 million knobs were purchasable for 100,000 Robux. Creekcraft and Think Noodles bought a lot of knobs and now are the richest people, excluding hackers or people who just abuse glitches for knobs. The next update was the April Fool's 2023 event, and this was again the update that made me hate playing this game. Pretty much every single YouTuber played it, but shocking thing was that Creekcraft and Think Noodles were like the only 2 popular dudes who beat it, which I do miss, as these 2 are definitely the people who made me addicted to Doors. But now Creekcraft just does brain rot and Think Noodles just does whatever he wants. Super Hard Mode though was probably one of the worst updates, as all it did was add stupid, unfair modifications, but there was a reason why it had over 100k players. This was pretty much the peak of Doors, and you could not avoid the game. I still think it is the worst update this game had ever had, but everyone made it look epic since the game was just that popular. This year was also the year that made the game become more popular and widely looked at. It was the beginning of more and more Floor 2 theories, as people were desperate for Floor 2 to come out, but this was pretty much all moved to 2024. I would give this year a solid 9 out of 10, because it was still good, just 2022 was just so much more hyped as the trolls, Discord server videos, and so much more that made it a great time. This was the year when everything pretty much started to go a little bit downhill because of no updates. We did get 3 epic updates this year, with the first one being the backdoors for the Roblox Hunt event. Now the Roblox event did suck, as it was one of the worst events, but Doors and Arsenal definitely carried it, as Doors introduced a whole new subfloor, which was epic. This is totally not biased, by the way. The sad thing is that it only has 15 players playing it at once, which makes sense as there is no reason to do it after beating it. This was pretty much the beginning of the year, and we still have 2 more epic updates. This was the update that made everyone, just casual players, who wanted to 100% the Hunt event, love the game, as the backdoors were challenging for everyone, but in a good way. This was a solid mini update, and the fact that it only took 2 weeks to create was pure dedication and hard work. It was a solid way to start off with the first Doors update of the year. And I know that everyone loved Doors because of what they did for the Hunt event, unlike the Blockfest event, which if you know how that went, you know how that went. The backdoors is a perfect example of how a stressful subfloor can still be balanced, just like Carnation's domain and Grace. If you know, you know. But to sum it all up, Carnation's domain starts off pretty normal, but towards the end, it gets very intense. Like, what am I even looking at right now? The next major thing that was added was retro mode. Now, I'll be honest, this was way better than last year's April Fool's event, as it was fair, balanced, and short, which I much rather prefer for troll-like updates. Retro mode takes around 7 to 8 minutes usually for me, which is nice, as troll updates in my opinion are supposed to be quick and easy, rather than like super long and boring. Super hard mode PTSD kicks in. The biggest update that was added this year was the Mines update, aka a brand new floor, but I'll be honest, the Mines is not that good of a floor. First of all, when it came out, you would have Giggle, Screech, Eyes, Rush, and Snare all comboing you at once, and at that point, what are you supposed to do? Another thing was that Door 150 was and still is the most hated thing in the mines. Even though they made it so that anchors get highlighted after like a couple of seconds, it is still difficult in general, even for new players. This in turn made a lot of people just turn away from the game in general, as the mines were just so much more different compared to the hotel. This update and moving forward, I feel like hurt the game's reputation, and I'll say it again. The mines are definitely one of the worst floors in the game, and no offense if you like it, but those were basically the 3 major updates the game had: retro mode, the mines, and the backdoors. This year was honestly not as great compared to 2022 and 2023, but it was still fairly decent, 7 out of 10. The new floor is pretty cool, but it was just executed poorly. This was the year that the game started to kind of decline a bit, but it's still pretty popular. YouTubers weren't as active as YouTubers mentioned during the end of 2022. But this was the year that received the most major updates, with 4 of them. Now let's start off with ranked mode or battle mode. This was for everyone one of the most fun game modes in the entire game, as it was a quick, fast-paced game mode that, unless you prefer chiller types of game modes, you would enjoy this game mode. It was just an amazing way to start off the year in my opinion, as it was insanely replayable. With the queue system that was also recently added, it is clear that this update made a lot of players love the game. Now the next major update was the Great Outdoors, which in my opinion started driving the game into more of a downward spiral. Now please do not take offense to the developers, as everyone can change no matter what, right? Except weirdos on the internet, but Elswash ain't a weirdo. Now don't get me wrong, everything for the update was amazing, such as the subfloor, which was very epic, and the brand new items. But time for a hot take. I think the item skins should be a little bit more balanced, and basically just less cheap, as the way to get knobs right now is pretty limited. If you do not have Robux for a 5x boost or modifiers, it can be insanely difficult to buy item skins that you want. Getting 1,500 knobs or 3,000 knobs for some skins can just be crazy, and I think reducing them to 1,000 and 2,000 would be perfect, or they can just add more ways to get knobs. Also straight up, please add more ways to get Stardust, as the only good way right now is farming rooms or achievements, which rooms gives 20 to 30 Stardust, but then again, rooms are incredibly boring, so it is more of a chore rather than the actual fun, and with achievements you can only gain Stardust once. The next update after this was the Trick or Treat update, and this update was yet again pretty fun, as candies are just so fun to mess around with. Terminal velocity, nest, skip, flashbacks, that was just so OP at the time. And this was also the time when magicians started like blowing up. But this was also the update that introduced buddies, which function like the deep sea buddies from Pressure. But this pretty much sparked another talked about thing, El Goblino and Sally. These were buddies which you had to pay $30 actual to get, and I'll be honest, they should have been free and not paid, as the buddies do be looking high quality, with each of them having custom voice lines. I feel like just locking it behind a paywall is sort of BS, but then again, it is the dev's choice, and this is just optional to get. Now, a way to end off 2025 was the Christmas update, and this added in Kringle's Workshop. Now, they only had 7 days to work on this update, and it actually turned out pretty great, especially for 1 week. Compared to other popular games, I think this update was genuinely great. And for the new buddy, Kringle, that was also added, I can't complain, he's a great pal to have. I will say that they could have made Kringle's Workshop a bit quicker, since it usually takes like 20 minutes to beat, but it was still great regardless. Now, compared to previous years, this was definitely a less insane year, but the updates definitely made up for it, so 7 out of 10, just like 2024. That's all I have to say for every single year Doors has existed for. Looking back at 2022, I can't believe it, but to be honest, it feels surreal seeing the game evolve this far. Even if the popularity is low right now, I still love the game. Okay, all I have to say, yippee!